guys want to get some coffee or something?
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Even little kids in Mexico drink coffee.
Well, I'm not a little kid in Mexico, okay?
That is the best coffee I've ever tasted.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
You want a cup of coffee?
No coffee.
Coffee drinker, huh?
Maybe we could grab some coffee?
Coffee! Coffee, 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 coffee!
God damn, Jimmy. This is some serious gourmet shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on us.
Hello and good morning to everyone. Happy Thursday. Man, I am so glad that you are here joining us today. And by us, I mean my crew, my good buddies, John and Martin. How are you guys?
I'm doing good.
I'm doing fine. How are you, Chad?
I hope everybody's fine out there. Looks like we got a lot of people in the room today, So I just want to say, first and foremost, good morning and hello to D-Bud Martin, the ever-lovable Penny, Anima Confusa, Dragon Ruse, and Sean Estep. Howdy. Hopefully everybody's morning is going well. Okay, well, we seem to have something interesting for today. The top 5 most influential science fiction comic strips on modern entertainment. That's exactly how I put it. So, for me, I have found since Gary and I started doing this a few years ago that, as we moved on in society, there are certain things that have been left behind. In many ways, comic strips are more a product of the 20th century and before. But they are also the basis from which we created comics, or comic books from, I should say. So, I'm old enough to remember when that used to be a thing. Your daily comic strips, your Sunday comic strips, and in certain cities, even Saturday comic strips. I know, sounds weird. So to anybody under 30, it was definitely a thing. How about you guys?
Oh, yeah. I used to read the Sunday funnies and the daily funnies all the time.
Same here.
Cool. Well, what were some of your favorites, though? What are the ones that really? Because for me, Dick Tracy was one of the ones that I remember when I was little. That I used to try to read a lot. Of course, Flash Gordon,
Wizard of Ed.
Oh yeah, Wizard of Ed.
BC.
Yes, BC, of course. Dennis the Menace, Blondie, Wee Pals,
Family Circus.
Wee Pals. That's definitely something that only people of a certain age may remember. But that particular comic strip was so popular that it even got its own series of, it got its own Saturday morning show. And I think they had at least one holiday special, if I remember. But that was kind of like the multi-ethnic Peanuts. Although done in the 70s, which means they got it right. But no, There's just a lot of it. And sometimes, you'll have certain comic strips that I think were really influential on, excuse me, having a lot of trouble talking this morning, really influential on entertainment. Of course, you had James Bond. They had a James Bond comic strip, and I still think they do in certain cities. And I'm looking at Sean Estep. You're right. Mark Trail, The Phantom, maybe even The Shadow and Doc Savage, depending on where you're from. Let's see. And D. Bud Martin says, I remember following Dick Tracy, Little Abner, and of course, Peanuts. Yeah, I remember all those. Steve Canyon also. That was a good one. But yeah, everybody's got their favorite that they grew up with. And while I think there are still comic strips, not as many newspapers around anymore. I think a few years back they still had certain websites that you could go get the daily comic strips at. So if you were still in the mood to be able to read what that day's comic strip was, you could.
They're still out there. A to Z Comics.
Cool. Okay, and Monkey Jeebus. Hello, Monkey Jeebus. Let's see. Disney is lazy and okay. Oh yeah, you're talking about the trailer that just hit for Peter Pan. Well, look, it's their money; they can do anything they want with it.
See, I'm not going to watch Wendy and Peter, so I don't care if it race swapped. But The Little Mermaid's the one that doesn't make sense to me because that is a Scandinavian area folklore.
Yeah. Look, I said what I've often said, which is I find it really odd that people who say that they want to have more visibility for people who aren't necessarily always the lead in a lot of things in terms of, both in front of the camera, behind the camera, and I'm totally down with that. But I find it odd that when placed in positions to be able to put more out there, that they would rather go back and redo things that we've already seen rather than telling stories that have been around for, in certain instances, hundreds of years that a lot of people in America may not know. There are African legends and lores that I would love to see done. We don't get that. We don't get, old tales from, like Native American folklore and stuff like that. We don't do any of that. What we're doing is, we're gonna take on Peter Pan again. We're gonna take on Little Mermaid. It's like, we've done that. I get the fact that you want to create more, but wouldn't that create more entail also telling stories that we've never seen before? And again, Anyway, I'm happy for the people that got work because of those projects. I'm happy for the actors and actresses and everyone else that got a chance to work on those. But for my money, I would rather see an attempt to expand that way, and especially from Disney. There seemed to be a period there when they were trying to go out and expand and tell more stories. And look, if your audience is mainly going to be children, shouldn't you also attempt to be telling more stories from other cultures outside the United States? That's just my thing. That's just the way I'm going to put that. So, let's see. Oh, let's see. Bo Toll. Hello, Bo. Let's see. The go from Ant-Man 3 is an old Native American ceremony. Oh. Well, okay. I don't know if we've ever had him on the show before. I'm glad you're here. Hello, Penny. Anyway, I think I'm thinking it's time that we start in on the list on the top 5. So, at number 5, I chose Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's Superman. Because the one thing you got to remember, and this is about the creators of Superman, is that to them, Superman initially started as a science fiction story.
Yeah.
You know, again, I still run across people that love to try to argue with me. Superman's not science fiction. Oh, okay. You know. You can say whatever
from another planet, from a highly advanced civilization of another planet.
Okay.
has a special base that has all sorts of extraterrestrial
and
equipment. Yeah, that's not science fiction.
That's not science fiction. It's like, look, you can say whatever you want, but for the creators of Superman, which in my opinion, what they view their creation to be takes precedence over anybody else's interpretation. It's a science fiction story.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a hero, yes. He lives on Earth, yes. But it started out as a science fiction story. That doesn't mean it's always stayed that way. Over time, more things, different stories have been told. But in the beginning, it was a science fiction story. And I gotta say, I mean, there's no doubt that this particular character, this particular IP, has had a great effect on modern entertainment. Because without the success of Superman, you wouldn't have all the other characters and IP that have been adapted by Hollywood. You know, I don't think Captain Marvel would have come to the screen so quickly. I don't think Columbia would have picked up the rights to make Superman and Batman. I don't think Paramount would have been so big on having the Fleischers create Superman cartoons.
Yeah.
But also it kicked off something that really just ended up changing everything. Because without all of that, plus the comics and everything else, we wouldn't have everything that we got today. And Kevin Feige would have nothing to do.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I honestly wasn't thinking along those lines I was thinking like I was trying to go back to like the turn of the century and all that. I never thought about as far as the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Well, I mean, what were some of your ideas? Let's pick one of yours.
Well, was it Little Nemo?
Little Nemo. You know what? That's actually on Netflix.
Yeah.
And they had a way of interpreting that particular comic that really made it different. You know, for those of you who are my age, Netflix has a version of Little Nemo currently. It's it just premiered within the last month, 2 months, and it stars Jason Momoa. The name of the film that they made is called Slumberland, but that's actually Little Nemo. And the angle that they took with it is it's more like, what if Little Nemo had a daughter and she discovers everything? And so the character that Jason Momoa plays is the character from that little Nemo ends up meeting, who is now embodied by Jason Momoa. So it again, like I said, it's a slightly different take on Little Nemo in Slumberland. It's very, very different. How about you, Martin? I don't mean to put you on the spot, buddy. Okay, well, you know what?
Yeah, he maybe stepped away.
Oh, hold on. What do we have here? It's Loki! Hell, Loki! It is indeed an honor to have you here, buddy. Let's see. And of course, you are right, Monkey Jeebus. Batman didn't need Superman to exist. He's based on the show. You're right up to a point. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. The reason why Batman exists is because National was paying out quite a lot of money to Siegel and Schuster for that character, okay? And Bob Kane found out, fresh from working on The Spirit. And he looked at how much money those guys were getting. So the idea to create something that would help to compete on that level with Superman was what drove him to create Batman eventually. That's where Batman comes from. Now, the actual idea for Batman definitely comes from the Shadow, and it comes from the Phantom. Because the purple gloves, that's definitely, and the two guns, while that's also the Shadow, that's also the Phantom too.
Yeah.
But yeah. And again, Siegel and Schuster, we can all agree got screwed on that deal. I mean, they really did get screwed on that deal. I think if they had been allowed to hold on to those rights, I think their lives could have been a little bit different, for the better. And they also created other characters. That's the other thing about those guys. You're talking two young men who were both science fiction fans, who wanted to do something that was in the vein of a particular style that they really enjoyed reading themselves. Again, you got to understand how important science fiction was if you were someone under a certain age. In the 1930s, for anyone growing up, science fiction was treated the same way rock and roll was in the 1950s.
Yeah.
It was that big. That's the reason why you had so many people writing it, and book sales were just off the freaking charts. So to create something like Superman, which kind of is really different from anything that we had seen before, that's part of the reason why Superman was so popular, instantly popular, and why everybody tried to jump on that superhero bandwagon to try to make some of that money that National was making with that character. Because, again, you got to understand, you're talking inside of a year. I mean, he was already in comic strips. Inside of a year, he had the top, if not one of the top radio shows, because radio was dominant. It still took a few years to finally get around to making a movie. But when that movie hit, it was big. And eventually worked their way from films into television. Had one of the biggest television shows of the 1950s. And then a show so big that when they did a cartoon in the 1960s, they called it The Further Adventures of Superman to key off of how popular the television show had been a decade before, because it was called The Adventures of Superman. And getting Bud Collyer to come back, one of the voices from the hit radio show, to provide one of the voices for The Adventures of Superman, or I should say the Further Adventures of Superman cartoon, that was a real get. So, yeah, it was, again, the comic, though, was a way for everyone to enjoy the adventures of Clark Kent and Lois Lane and everyone of the Daily Planet. Superman basically went up against whatever he could find and face, whether it was threats to Metropolis or world-ending threats. You know, it would still take a few years to get around to having a regular villain after the initial start of the comic. But eventually, you know, we would have Lex Luthor and General Zod and Brainiac and all those. But Superman is just it. Yeah. Nobody seems to be able to rock the way that Superman can. And it's unfortunate that the people who currently have the rights don't seem to really be that interested in providing any real stories that people would like to read in the comics that started it all. You know, we're still having trouble launching a Superman movie after having people that have no real affinity for the character prior to that interfered with Zack Snyder's attempting to interpret all that stuff. So, I don't know. You know, what say you, John?
Yeah, it's the problem is all the people in charge of making decisions below the top are more interested in telling current year stories than they are compelling stories.
Yeah. Yeah. They are.
That's it's just that's why, I mean, I don't know. That's why I don't know if we're going to get, I don't know if we're going to get any more decent stories anymore until those kind of people have moved on. And whatever cultural mores have birthed, those kind of people have faded. We won't, there's nothing for us.
Well, just to let everyone know, the actual date that is, in my opinion, the actual publishing date, I think, for that first appearance of Superman is April 18th, 1938. Even though the cover is dated June 1938, the actual publishing date is April 18th. In fact, we just had Kal-El's birthday not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to the comics, Bruce Wayne,
29th?
Yes, Bruce Wayne was born February 19th. Kal-El was born February 29th. So both, again, there's your connection. Superman, Batman, both born within a couple days of each other in the same month. Kind of sounds like the month of March. Because that's ironically kind of the same situation with Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner, born within a week of each other. Same month, same year. So, anyway. So now we will make it to our next choice here. Again, I know this is going to sound like, figures Keith would pick that. But, I mean, here's the thing. I think it is important to understand, again, as I've said before, how influential comic strips are. And while this particular comic strip may not have been all the way back in the 30s, it still was quite influential, especially for people who had become fans of this particular IP. And it was Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know, you had what I think they started publishing that in 1969. So you had Star Trek comic strips that were first launched in 1969. And I think that first comic strip lasted about 4 years, give or take. And then nothing until 1979, when it came back to newspapers. And that was because of the success of Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So it was all really pretty much the further adventures of the Enterprise crew, the Enterprise A crew, post V'ger, you know, which again, it's stuff like that really helped Star Trek grow. I mean, you had a syndicated comic strip that kept everyone going along with the syndicated version of the series. And then you know, right up until 1973, and then you had the animated series with all new episodes, animated episodes voiced by almost every single member of the original cast. I think they were missing 2 or 3 people, but for the most part, you know. What do you think, John?
Yeah. Like I said, I was thinking like older, like, you know, turn of the century, 20s and 30s. But yeah, you're definitely right. Star Trek is hugely influential, not only from the TV standpoint, but the comic strip standpoint.
Yeah. Well, it just was something that, again, you have to understand, by 1969, I mean, the show was off the air. So to start a comic strip, first and foremost, for a television series that had just been canceled. And yet, to keep that thing going for years, for years afterward, to find original ways of telling that story, especially while new fans and people were discovering this show that had just been canceled. So from 1969, definitely till about 1970, 71, I mean, as the fan base was building, and to just sort of explode everywhere by 1971, and to get to the point where, you know, it was, again, speaking as someone who kind of sort of remembers 1971, I think I was a little busy that year, but I kind of sort of remember.
I was 1, so.
Okay, I was slightly older than 1.
But my parents took me to my first movie in 1971.
What movie did they take you to see?
Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
See, your parents knew how to kick that off right.
Yep, that's why I imprinted on Godzilla. I always say that's why I'm a big Godzilla fan, because I saw it when I was a babe.
Let's see, John. Oh, hey, John. This is next level nerdy. Keith is giving me Mr. Glass vibes. Wow.
Okay.
Well, I will officially say that while I've, you know, John knows this about me. I have often asked people what they would what they would do if they had the money and ability to be able to, live like a James Bond villain. What they would do.
Yeah.
As far as where they would live, because if you think about many of those places, I mean, all the Bond villains. Think about this: undersea base, volcanic island with a top that comes off. They've had mobile bases. They've had even bases like in space and stuff. If you really think about it, that's just a cool place to live. I mean, if you really just set aside the whole trying to take over the world thing, that's great stuff. And my thing is, I get so caught up on just living the lifestyle. Why would I even need to take over the world if I could live in an undersea base and have like an army of people willing to die at my very command? And a right-hand man who probably had some kind of surgery or something to alter himself to do my bidding at a moment's notice. Why would I ever need to really take over the world?
Yeah.
I mean, if these people had just kept to themselves and did their own thing, almost all of them would be alive today.
Yeah.
Throwing all kinds of mad parties. I mean, just... Okay. Enough with that.
If I have unlimited money, I'm living in the Legion of Doom skull.
That's good. But why would you pick the swamp, dude?
Well, I wouldn't keep it in the swamp because remember it flies.
Oh yeah, it does fly.
It just hid in the swamp to keep away from
the Justice League, the goody goodies. Yeah, the goody goodies. Oh wow. Let's see. Joe's Atmosphere. Good morning, folks. Hope you're having a great stream. We are, Joe. We're missing you, buddy. Hopefully your day is going well too. Let's see. Bo, Star Trek, Navy, and Space. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Let's see. Stonepie Media. Guess I need a floating hive and a bunch of bee costumes. Good
Somebody's
one.
been watching the Venture Brothers.
I know it. You know what? Let me just say officially, I given everything that Rick and Morty have been through and the problems they're facing right now, I would at least like to put this out there. Hey, Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
Anything happens to Rick and Morty, there's always the Venture Brothers. Put some money towards that. I'd love to see a whole new season of Venture Brothers. You can't go wrong.
I think it's superior to Rick and Morty, to be honest.
It is. It is a much superior show. Come on. I mean, do John Martin and I do all the thinking for Hollywood now?
We should.
Yeah, but I don't think it pays that much.
Reminds me of the first episode of this new season of South Park where everybody starts a rumor that Kyle runs Hollywood.
Yeah, it is funny. Let's see. John, I do find this fascinating, though. I'd also buy me a Fortress of Solitude, but somewhere warmer. Yes, but which version of the Fortress would you go with? Would you go with the Hollywood version, or would you go with the comic version?
Not the comic version.
See, that's what I thought. That's what I would go with, is the comic version. Nothing against the Hollywood version. Nothing against the version from Richard Donner. But
I want all the toys.
The thing about the Richard Donner Fortress is it's too easy. Once you get up there, it's too easy to get in.
The giant key that only Superman can lift.
Yeah, you see, with the comic version, you have to do something to get in. With the Richard Donner version, you kind of sort of just walk in.
Yeah.
Why would you ever have a super secret base that you can just walk into?
Well, it's been that way with every Fortress of Solitude for the other non-comic media.
Well, good point. Good point.
It's like there's no defenses in the live action Fortress of Solitude, whereas the comic has automated robots that will take you out. And it's got a zoo and all sorts of fun stuff.
You know what? You're right. Wow, look at you up on everything, John. That's the reason why you're on this show. That is the reason why you are on the. John's got it going on, everybody, as if you didn't really know. John's got it going on. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Let me just end all this by saying this. There's only really been one Star Trek comic strip. While it has been done in two halves from two different points in their lives, starting with the series and then the movie, there's only been one crew featured in those.
Yeah.
That tells you something right there, kids. That isn't really to disparage any of the other fans of any of the other crews, but only Kirk and company got the comic strip treatment. And I just want to say that I am in the bag for that crew because they were, first of all, they were my introduction, really the entire world's introduction. And while there have been other crews that have done other things and they've done certain things differently, there's nothing like the Enterprise crew under the command of Kirk, Spock, and the watchful eye of McCoy. So,
damn it, Jim! I'm a doctor, not a Starfleet captain.
And Slasher Fred said there was a Superman prequel called Superboy. Yeah, Superboy came later, but I totally get it. I love the Superboy comics. I thought they were a lot of fun, and had things worked differently, they were looking at having a Superboy television series. You can still find the pilot online.
Well, they did have a Superboy series.
Well, I mean the first one, not the one that they ended up having. The Superboy series you're thinking of is from the people that made the Richard Donner film.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is a Superboy series from the producers of The Adventures of Superman.
Oh, okay. Back in the day.
Yeah. They actually had a pilot for that, and I think you can find that one on YouTube, along with the Wonder Woman pilot from the producers of the Batman 66 series.
I've got the Batgirl pilot for Batman 66.
What?
Yeah.
You've got that?
Yeah.
Oh, look right at you. John's got the hookup, everybody.
Well, I've also got stuff like the Roger Corman's Fantastic Four and stuff like that. So
God bless Roger Corman. Let's see. Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips. Hello to you. Wow. Well, I mean, okay. Well, what else do you have, John? I mean, now that you totally impressed us with that one, I mean, because that's better than anything I currently own.
Well, I don't know. I can't think any. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff. I just can't think off the top of my head,
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff out there if you know where to look. You know
Okay.
who to talk to.
Well, then let's just go to the next one that I have.
Okay.
And now this one might surprise a few people, but I thought it was quite fun and funny. Next on my list at number 3 is Brewster Rocket, Space Guy. Yeah.
I'm vaguely familiar.
Vaguely familiar? Okay. Wait a minute. John, okay. I want to support the show by sending a check to Dust Wolfen. Please send me your home address. Promise not to steal your comic stash. That seems totally legit there,
Oh
John.
yeah.
Totally legit.
I'll file that along with the Nigerian prince that wants to send me millions of dollars for
In
sharing my
exchange
bank
for
account information.
yeah. You haven't done that already?
Oh no.
Well, I think because he's a Nigerian prince, that means you can trust him.
Yeah, but the problem is Nigerian money is like, you get like 10 billion Nigerian dollars to like the penny or something.
What are you saying?
Maybe that Nigerian prince isn't exactly as rich as he thinks he is.
Yeah. Well, he does seem trustworthy to me. I mean, he says he really needs our help. So, he says he
I
really
getting one of those one times, and I forwarded it to UN. Hey, if you need help, there you go.
I know. Please forward this to the proper authorities. I think this guy really needs help. War Monkey. Hey. How are you, War Monkey? Oh, wow. Okay. Let's see. And we are right back here. Okay, everybody. So as I said before, it's Brewster Rocket Space Guy. Okay? So it's kind of a comedic, satirical, retro futuristic comic strip. It tries to do comedically what we said. Well, it's what the Venture Brothers does, by making fun of Johnny Quest and a few other things. That's kind of what Brewster Rocket Space Guy is. It was created by Tim Rickard, and it chronicles the misadventures of a dim-witted Brewster Rocket, captain of the space station R.U. Sirius, and his crew. So they kind of use Star Trek as a basis. A lot of American science fiction films in the 50s, science fiction comics in the 40s and 50s, debuted on July 5th, 2004.
See, I wasn't counting anything that new. I'm looking back. That's not the turn of the century I'm talking about.
You know what? My mind works mysteriously, my friend.
Yep, it does.
And to me, this particular comic strip, I think, is influential because it's a direct result of all the other stuff that's come before, and somebody's using it to basically just turn around and try to creating something new. This seemed like a fun comic strip to me. I like the description of the crew, and even people of certain sensibilities might find this something that they might be able to get into. Maybe Sci-Fi Channel could do something with this.
Yeah, it would definitely be a fun series to see live action or even animated.
Well, considering what they ended up doing, I think everybody look. I'm never really going to get over the fact that Sci-Fi Channel had The Expanse and canceled it in favor of a television show based on a comic that had barely come out, that had then been canceled, the comic.
Yeah.
And decided to make an entire television series where they only played maybe 4 or 5 of the episodes and ended up canceling the show anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, are you just stupid? Is that your problem?
Yeah. Apparently Sci-Fi Channel was stocked with Fox executives.
I mean, you got rid of the Expanse. I mean, come on. And it's because of that gave false hope to the people behind Picard. Because Alex Kurtzman and his people were salivating at the fact that they thought that they were going to be able to inherit all of the sets from the Expanse to use for Picard. Because they ended up borrowing, air quotes, some of the money that had been set aside for Picard to use for Discovery. Because season 2. Because they were afraid that the money was somehow going to run out because the people that had actually paid for that season, Netflix,
Yeah.
weren't really happy with everything that they had seen. Netflix and Amazon, I should say. Netflix and Amazon. Netflix was unhappy with Discovery. And they tried to pull out after the first season and found out that they were contractually obligated to pay for season 2. But it wasn't as much money as season 1, and there was a shortfall. So they decided to just, wink, wink, borrow a little money from Picard's budget. But they thought they'd be able to make it up by just inheriting all the sets from the Expanse.
Yeah.
So
then Expanse, lo and behold, Expanse gets picked up.
That's right. So you're trying to tell me that you were betting on the demise of another show and the loss of work for everybody that worked on that show to basically have hand-me-down sets for Sir Patrick Stewart after you got him to come back to TV to reprise this role that a whole lot of people worldwide were fans of. You couldn't even build him new sets?
And they bet against a series that had a bigger fan base than the current Star Trek did.
Yep.
And a more passionate fan base.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you've got people speaking Beltlanda, coming up with the language for, that's like Star Trek level stuff, original Star Trek level stuff.
Beltalowda
language and
Beltalowda.
Same thing with the George R. R. Tolkien.
Oh yeah.
Stupid George throwing those RRs in there so he can sound like he's somehow in the same league as Tolkien. But
yeah, someday you'll reach it. Maybe after you
release the books.
Yeah, after you finish all the books. Oh, wait a minute, that'll never happen.
Anyway,
you're right, John. Though it's embarrassing. It really is what it is, and to have gotten and the other irony is that the people that were in charge of this show, especially the person that was helping to show run, I think was someone that had started out working on DS9 and Voyager. So, I mean, it's like, come on, guys, you got to get it together. You really have to get it together. This is the reason why season 3 of Picard is so well liked. Now, I am personally not saying that it is the best show ever. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that given everything that we've seen from New Trek, and I know they hate it when you call it New Trek, but that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
None of it is that good. So this is the first good thing they've got. I mean, it's the next generation, and as far as I'm concerned, this is what season 1 of Picard should have been. Minus all the cursing. I'm not a prude.
Yeah.
I just know that Star Trek before didn't need to have cursing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I sound like, I'm being a little much about that whole thing. But
Well, even the cursing in the movies was always tame.
that's right. I like my Star Trek as something that I could sit down with my entire family and watch.
Because I think the first S-bomb ever dropped in Star Trek was when the Enterprise decrashed.
Yeah.
That's
And it was
Data
Data who
goes-
said it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's part of canon that in the 24th century people don't curse.
They don't need to. They can, but they don't need to.
Yeah, they
it-
find it odd.
Yeah, it is odd, but I mean,
Yeah.
again, I like the fact that when my kids were small, I could show them any episode of Star Trek and not have to worry. If I left the room or something happened and I had to leave and do something, I could leave them watching Star Trek and not have to worry. At best, I'm coming home to answer questions as to, okay, why did this happen in this episode? What did that mean? What you would normally expect.
Yeah.
But F-bombs?
Yeah.
Really?
Now it's like, oh, let's throw this in to be edgy. Oh, look at us. We're edgy. We dropped an F-bomb. Ignore the fact our story sucks. We dropped an F-bomb.
And that's it. And oh, man. Davinia Duckworth. You're right.
Yeah.
Foul language doesn't make it better.
Nope. In fact, a lot of times it makes it worse.
It does. Good writing, you really don't need the colorful metaphors. You've never needed that. You're right, Joe's atmosphere.
That's
You don't
exactly
need
what he
that.
said.
You just, and again, I'm not saying, look, again, I've enjoyed movies where people have dropped F-bombs and S-bombs and all that stuff, but Star Trek's never really needed that.
No.
And to be so out of touch where you're now trying to introduce I'm just going to introduce these shows now for kids. Well, Star Trek's always been for kids. There's never really been a need to kind of divide your audience up.
It's been for families. That's what's been important.
Yeah,
It's been for
yeah. Families, and it's just meant to be something that you can watch at any time and just enjoy. And we're getting back to that with season 3 of Picard, even though they do still allow some colorful language.
Yeah, it's not as bad.
I just think that Alex Kurtzman and his people, I should say, when I say Alex Kurtzman and his people, I am strictly talking about Alex Kurtzman and his writers.
Yeah.
And fellow producers. Those are his people. Everyone else, the actors, the costume people, all the people that actually work for a living to help put those shows on here, I got nothing but mad respect for everyone that works on those shows. But I think the end results of what the writers are able to come up with, it's the writers that make me not like what they do. But I always enjoy seeing what they're able to create. So,
and Picard had the first "oh yeah" moment in the whole of New Trek at the end of last episode.
Yep.
I'm not going to spoil it, but it's definitely one of those. If it was in a movie, people would be cheering.
Uh-oh. It's aren't we getting close to the top of the hour?
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Give or take.
2.5.
2.5? Okay. I didn't want
Give or
to
take meant.
didn't want to run over by accident. Hold on, Joe's atmosphere. It was funny because Data is always trying to become more human in his behavior, and he knocks it out of the park. Right.
Yeah, he does.
I get it that not that many people are are big fans of Star Trek Generations, but I stand by what theater I was in. Were cheering and laughing when he did it. Yeah, in my theater too. I will say this about Star Trek Generations. In my humble personal opinion, it is the best looking of all the Next Generation films. The cinematography for that film is unmatched by any of the other films that have come after. You know, I wish they were shooting even Picard season 3 the same way they did Generations. I mean, that film just looks darn good. I mean, even today, all of us may not like the story, but that is a gorgeous looking film.
Oh, yeah.
And the way they lit the Enterprise, I remember seeing that in the theater going, if the television series had been lit like this, I'd still like it to be on the air because it was looking so good. And stellar cartography. I love that set.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. And the fact that everybody was wearing the Deep Space Nine uniforms, I thought was just wow.
It's a good touch.
And now what they're wearing now is just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sheer effing hubris.
Well, looks like it's about that time.
Yes. So, look, everyone, we're gonna go away for a little bit, and hold on. Joe's Atmosphere says, great concept, poor execution. At least they got Kirk and Picard on screen. Take notes, J.J. Abrams. You know what? Check out a book called Federation.
Yep.
An even better story. I agree with my other brother on that one, Robert Meyer Burnett. That's a really good book. It's called Federation. Way better story, not as many F-bombs, and it's just a better meeting between those characters. So,
yep. Right. Well, with that, guess it's time for a break.
Hi guys, this is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
A birthday without her mom, an anniversary without her husband, her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsman. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget, and neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at taps.org.
Question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived! Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA.
Hey, everyone. You know what? As one gets older, you find yourself occasionally realizing that sometimes, how do they put it, mistakes get made. And in this particular case, I made a really big mistake. I accessed the wrong file that I had for this entire thing because it was an earlier version. Originally, it wasn't meant to be Brewster Rocket. It's going to be called the film, the comic film. The comic that I had here should have been Sky Masters.
I was wondering if Sky Masters was going to be.
Yes, Sky Masters was on the list. It should have been Sky Masters.
Does that mean Jeff Hawke's going to be on the list too?
Maybe. You never know. But yeah, Sky Masters. You seem to be very familiar with Sky Masters.
I know. I not familiar. I know of it. I mean, it's like I've only seen a few strips of it. But, it's definitely a classic strip. Was it 50s?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and fill it in. Sky Masters of the Space Force.
Yeah.
Was a syndicated newspaper strip. It debuted September 8th, 1958. Wow. There's that date again.
Yeah.
Interesting how that seems to keep popping back up. September 8th.
Yep.
Not only is the debut date for Star Trek in 1966, but in 1973 was also the debut date for Star Trek the Animated Series, as well as the debut date for the animated series Super Friends.
I do know one thing about Sky Masters for sure.
Okay.
It's created by Jack Kirby.
That's right. Yep. Writer, penciler Jack Kirby, Dave Wood. Yeah. Good stuff. I should say it's Jack Kirby and Wally Wood. So were the illustrators along with Dick Ayers. But excuse me. I think it was originally meant to be called Space Busters, is how it began life.
Oh, okay.
But they eventually called it Sky Masters. And
after Skylar Master, the main character.
Well, you see,
I
you
don't
know about this.
I don't know everything. I know it had that 50s sci-fi feel, and that's what was so cool about it.
Yeah. Again, it's something that those of you out there listening to us and watching, but listening to us especially, you can still find some of those online.
Let me look.
Now,
yeah, Amazon has the complete dailies you can buy.
Cool.
Sky Masters of Space Force complete dailies from 5861.
Cool.
$60, but it's like a coffee table hardcover.
Wow. Well, let's see. The comic, as I said before, debuted September 8th, 1958, and ended on February 25th, 1961. So, wow.
Right in the beginnings of the space race.
Pretty much.
After
Wow.
Sputnik, when Gemini and was going on.
And
or not Gemini, Mercury.
I will say this about Sky Masters. It has a very, its look is so different from a lot of other work that Jack Kirby had been a part of. It's very different. I know it's other artists and Jack Kirby, and this is one of the works that basically is able to showcase or help to showcase Jack Kirby's work as a writer, which again, you've got to understand. Jack Kirby was one of those people that while he is known for his artwork, was also a really good writer and creator. Okay? He was never really given that kind of recognition when he found his way back to Stan Lee when Stan brought Marvel back to life at the beginning of the 1960s.
Yeah.
And he was never given, I think, proper credit for the kinds of things that he was able to bring to the table besides his ability to just be able to create artwork. Kirby had often said that there were times that he was able to do certain things on Fantastic Four or on X-Men or other titles that he had worked on that he wasn't really given proper credit for. When he left Marvel and went to DC for a while, he was able to showcase exactly what he could do. And the result of that ended up becoming the Fourth World.
Yeah. There's a reason why Jack Kirby's the king.
You keep preaching, my friend. Keep preaching, because it's like he is the king. You know, again, nothing against. It doesn't take anything away from anyone else to call Jack Kirby the king, but again, Jack also was technically Stan's boss when Stan got to the industry. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. So, but yeah, Sky Masters is definitely something to check out. If you're interested in something just a little bit different, as far as the work of Jack Kirby and Wally Wood, I think you should check it out. I think it's definitely worth your time. And it's one of the, I think, definitive influences on modern entertainment.
Yeah.
This definitely would have been read by a lot of the guys who ended up going into the space program. And that's the other thing about a lot of these strips today. These are almost all are something that a lot of the guys who ended up joining the Mercury 7 program would have been reading.
Yeah.
One way or another. Wow.
Definitely.
See, Hollywood, take note. Some of this stuff's still pretty good. You do very well to try to get in on that one.
And you could probably pick it up for a song too.
Okay. So I think we're up to number 2 right now.
We had 2 3s, but we'll let that slide.
Well, okay. I'm gonna see if I can do something a little bit outside the box for you here. Okay. Number 2 is a plot that and a comic that I initially hadn't heard of prior to making this list. And after doing a lot of research, I gotta say, wow. I can definitely say that this is something that very influential when it comes to popular entertainment in the years since then. And that is a comic strip called Twin Earths.
Okay, I've heard of it. I haven't actually read it.
Well, it was an American science fiction comic strip by Oscar Ledbeck, and it was drawn by Alden McWilliams, and it ran in Sunday and daily newspapers from 1952 until 1963. Okay.
Which is a good run for a comic strip.
Yes.
11 years?
Yeah.
Considered most just last a year or two.
Yep. Basically, it made use of the duplicate Earth concept, 1952 to 63. And it tapped into the growing interest during the period in flying saucers. And basically, the story is of another Earth called Terra. Okay? It's in the same orbit as our planet, but on the opposite side of the sun. And it's a scientifically advanced civilization that visits us in flying saucers. So, basically, they visit us and spy on us to keep tabs on us and our technology so that they can make sure that our warlike ways don't pose a threat to them and their civilization. And there's a character by the name of Gary Garrry Verth, who is an FBI agent for whom the character of Vanna reveals herself. Now, Vanna's from the other Earth, Terra. And it's all about how she gets involved with to help sort out problems on our planet before they become too big and eventually become somehow a problem to her planet. So basically, it's kind of like one of those opposite attract type situations where you got two people working together from two different places, and they help stop the bad guys on our planet. And one of them has a very vested interest because they come from a different planet. I find this kind of interesting, and I wonder why Hollywood really hasn't picked up on this one yet. Although, now, to be fair, I should say, this concept, definitely in the years since then, Hollywood has made a few, there are a few films and TV shows that, have certain parts of this from before. And again, 1952 to 1963. So this definitely is well outside a lot of different things. What do you think, John?
Yeah. In fact, if Hollywood wanted to do it today, because obviously we know there's no Earth on the other side. Back in back in the early 1950s, they had no idea. It's theoretically there could be an Earth because we can't see over there because we didn't have a spacecraft that orbited the sun to prove that what's on the other side. And so if they wanted to do it today, they would simply have the other Earth being Terra, being slightly out of phase.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, slightly out of... Wow.
That's what I would do anyway.
That's pretty good. That's a nice twist. Wow. Well, I'm also thinking of a movie like 1969's Journey to the Far Side of the Sun.
Yeah.
And that film, though, had the twist of there being a second Earth and everything's just backwards compared to this one.
Yeah.
Nice twist on that one. It's like a weird Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, Mirror Earth.
Yeah. Wow.
And the Gore books and the Gore TV show, or the movies, the two Gore movies, they were on Counter Earth, which was exactly opposite of this Earth. Except it was, instead of being a science, highly advanced scientific, it was based in roughly fantasy medieval type times.
Yeah. Wow. This would be a fun. Ooh, you know what? I just had this really cool thought. And I know saying it out loud might not be the coolest thing, but you know what? If the people that I hope hear this, if you're going to steal anything I say, steal this. Wouldn't it be cool if Kevin Feige and the people of the MCU just use this as a way of explaining the Fantastic Four?
If they're from an alternate Earth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they could. Well, we have the multiverse, so they could just be from another timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And even it could even be a timeline that Kang won, and that's their whole mission is to come here to prevent him from destroying this one.
Yep. Or just from another Earth that was really successful.
Yeah.
Many of the problems that we ended up having, they had avoided. And you have someone like you have Mr. Fantastic, who basically is one of their is a very good scientist over there, but over here is a freaking genius.
Yeah.
And we could have making their transition from their Earth to our Earth is what gives them their powers. And since it is slightly out of phase, they're trying to find a way of going back to their Earth in that way.
Yeah.
And, Johnny wants to stay here because he's a superstar over here.
Oh, yeah.
But the theory is that probably by going back to where they're from, they could become fully human again,
I just thought of the ultimate DC Marvel crossover.
Oh, okay.
Johnny Storm and Booster Gold.
Oh, look at you. Another Booster Gold ref. Okay.
Got to work it in somewhere.
Yeah. I was thinking, though, Booster meets Tony.
That would be interesting.
Because, again, Booster would love hanging out with Tony. Tony wouldn't like hanging out with Booster, but Booster would love hanging out with Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Anyway, I like you. Doing a lot of research, I had never really heard of this comic strip before. But looking at it, I think Hollywood has at least taken a few ideas from this comic strip. And to me, I think it's got a solid premise on its own. I think it would be worth someone getting the rights to this and actually making it as a movie or even a possible television series, because it is set up in such a way where there are a lot of different ways that you could go from this as a weekly television series or as a big budget film.
Yeah.
So, wow. I still just can't believe that it all ended before, 3 years before I was born. Huh. Anyway. Yeah, it's called Twin Earths. So, if you're looking for a compilation of all those particular comics, I think they do offer that. I'd have to
Check
Here it
Amazon
is.
real quick. Oh, you got it?
Here it is. 87 Dragon Lady Press published one issue of science fiction classics featuring twin Earths. Let's see. 1991. Susor Publications reprinted most of the daily and Sunday strips in 3 magazines. Wow. Twin Earths, 8 issues. Twin Earths Sunday pages, 5 issues. And Twin Earths Special Edition, 1 issue. Wow.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay. I may have to seek this one out myself. Okay. Now,
I guess we're on to number one. And
number one.
This is going to be no shock to anybody whatsoever.
Okay, what do you think it is?
Buck Rogers.
Of course. Of course. Look, I don't think I could seriously just sit here and say that it's not Buck Rogers. You know. I think I will say this. I like a lot of other people remember the television series.
Oh, I love the TV series.
But that's not what the original Buck Rogers was. You know, it was the 70s. Come on, you know.
Yeah.
That isn't to say that I didn't like the series or I didn't like the people on it. Everybody was great. But that version of it is kind of different. Buck Rogers, the hero, the comic strip, as created by Philip Francis Nolan, that's kind of a different thing. You know, in my mind, he took the basic idea of the American Revolution and just set it in the future.
Yeah.
You know, with a different group of bad guys. Instead of the British, he made it another group of people. And the rebels, the people fighting against this invasion of America, were people that were using what do you call those? It wasn't really a jetpack. That's the other misnomer. It was really a jump pack. It was something that enhanced.
They couldn't fly with it.
Yeah. It enhanced your physical abilities in that sense. So you could jump over things. Although over time, having something that allowed you to fly just became more romantic. So.
Remember, Superman didn't initially fly either.
No, he didn't. You're right. You're right. Let's see. So the comic strip started in January 7th, 1929 and ended July 8th, 1967. Wow. I was not very old.
Ran a long time, though.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it did.
I think it ran longer than Flash Gordon, didn't it?
I think so. Wow. Let's see. Okay, so basically, Buck Rogers really is the seminal science fiction comic strip of the 20th century. It is definitely something that I think a lot of the Apollo 11 astronauts and others would have read. That's even mentioned in the film The Right Stuff.
Yeah.
That was something that the characters in that film, those version of the Mercury 7 astronauts, name checked Buck Rogers a lot. So, but that also goes to show you how popular the character was. It was just everybody knew Buck Rogers and what Buck Rogers meant. And again, it's safe to say that without Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, there would be absolutely no Star Wars. Period.
Nope. We wouldn't even have Star Trek.
True. There would be no Star Trek at all. So I'm just waiting for somebody to come along that would like to take a crack at actually making a really good adaptation of Philip Nolan's Buck Rogers.
Yeah. Do you know there was an actual Buck Rogers RPG in the 80s?
Yep.
Buck Rogers of the 25th Century.
Yep.
Put out by TSR.
Yep. It's again, this character is everywhere, and much like Tarzan, the character just seemed to take up residence within everyone's imagination. I mean, it's one of the foremost IPs of the 20th century. Tarzan, Flash Gordon, Mickey Mouse, Superman, Buck Rogers, Batman.
Is Buck in public domain right now?
It's a good question. That is a really good. You know what? I never thought to look that up. Yeah. Well, considering when it was created, if he's not, he's very close.
Yeah.
If he is
once he's in public domain, what's stopping people?
Yeah, true. That's true. I will say this though. Buck Rogers was actually adapted into films in the 1930s. Yep. 1940s.
And the same guy that played Flash Gordon played Buck Rogers.
That's right, Buster Crabbe. Let's see. The first movie came out in 1939. So the year Batman made his debut in comics was the first year that Buck Rogers made his debut on film. And let's see.
Buster Crabbe was also in the 70s Buck Rogers.
Yep, he made a cameo. Well, not a cameo. He was a character in he played Colonel Gordon, I think they called him.
As a reference to Flash Gordon.
Yep. And then I think Buck Rogers was also one of the first television shows when television first was available to the general public. And let's see. ABC, April 15th, 1950. And it ran until January 30th, 1951. So it was a total of 36 black and white episodes.
I wonder if that's out there somewhere. That's something that survived.
So both Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon both had their own television series in the 1950s. Although, the Sci-Fi Channel Flash Gordon series, let me just officially say, sucked!
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not mention that.
Ooh, God, that sucked.
The cartoon wasn't bad.
The cartoon was great.
Yeah,
the 80s cartoon, loved it. Yeah, you could. That's actually, the pilot is actually a movie called The Greatest Adventure of All. And that one is available on YouTube to watch. I think they had run out of money trying to put that together, and that they were able to get the producers of the Flash Gordon movie, Dino De Laurentiis and his company, to put a lot of money towards their animated version of Buck. I think Dino De Laurentiis saw it as an investment that would get kids involved in liking the character in time for them to put the movie out and to help, get more people excited about the film.
Yeah, wasn't there wasn't there a series that had like Flash Gordon and some of the other?
Yeah, Defenders of the Earth.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was all King Features Syndicate characters, and Defenders of the Earth. The thing about it is, while Flash Gordon was a part of the whole thing, the other characters that they picked were all characters from Missouri.
Yep.
By the same guy. Mandrake the Magician and the Phantom were both created by the same guy, and who was originally from Missouri. So both characters are Missouri characters. Deal with it. Yeah, I said it. So, it's again, but it cannot be overstated how important Buck Rogers was to all entertainment that came after his debut.
Yeah.
In fact, Buck Rogers helped to kick off a lot of the live action programs of the 1950s. Buck Rogers was really an attempt to try to emulate the success of Captain Video, which, again, for anyone under the age of 30, was a television. You know what? We've got Wikipedia. You can look that part up yourself.
Yeah.
But for the 1950s television series, I wish they had adapted this into the series from 1979, which is Base of Operations was a secret lab in a cave behind Niagara Falls. I like that idea.
Cool. Yeah, I do too. Except eventually it would be exposed, but
Yeah, well, still, it's fun. It's a war. The other thing is, it's a war series. I mean, if somebody decided to make it would be like if somebody decided to take Star Wars and turn it into a regular television series.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
One side versus another side. That's all. But it's an invasion story. It doesn't take place too often on other planets. It's mainly about the war here on Earth, mainly in North America, with this huge invasion force and all these people trying to fight them off. So,
a series that's directly inspired by that, Falling Skies.
See, there you go. Wow, Buck Rogers, I tell you. And again, I did like the 1979 film and the 1980 series. I just felt that Glenn A. Larson took certain characters and kind of bent them a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in high school and I found a whole book on Buck Rogers and talking about, it held a lot of the early comic strips but it also talked about the phenomenon of Buck Rogers and how successful it was, the merchandising and everything else.
Oh yeah, it was. It and Flash Gordon had huge merchandising.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Going on. I mean, you could get Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers ray guns, and toys and costumes.
Dakota rings and all that other stuff.
Dakota rings.
And one of the things that really stood out was the fact that Killer Kane was a major character within Buck Rogers. He was kind of like the anti-hero, you know.
Yeah.
For me, he was the prototype of where you would get a character like Han Solo. And for the 1979 film and the eventual television series that followed, they made him a henchman to another character, Ardala, and Princess Ardala, who, again, I must say, Pamela Hensley, actress Pamela Hensley, gorgeous woman.
Yep.
God, yeah, she was very, very easy on the eyes.
Didn't wear a whole lot on the set either.
You know what? That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Although I liked her more in the television series Matt Houston. Just saying.
Yeah. Of course, you had the other female lead wearing skin tight suits. So, I mean, it's, you know.
You know, I will say this. I had heard of Tai Chi. I had never seen Tai Chi until I met Erin Gray.
Yeah.
And I want to thank her for introducing me to that. She's also just a really cool person. Great sense of humor. I've had the opportunity to meet her more than once. And yeah, she's a beautiful woman, but also just a really, really, really nice person. And also, let me just say that really, that again, that entire series was just fun, you know. But Gil Gerard, nice guy, really nice guy. I got to meet him in passing. And I wish I had actually got a chance to really spend some time with him. But you know what?
I got to talk with him for 10 or 15 minutes, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you guys talk?
Convention?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to ask you, did you talk to him about Arkansas?
No, I was talking about Buck Rogers. And how big a fan I was as a kid, and how much I still enjoyed watching the reruns when I got a chance to see him.
Well, Arkansas.
I went fanboy. Sorry.
Well, Arkansas is where he's from.
Yeah.
And I like asking stuff about that because, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like that. And you can be like that too. By drinking Fuel Up for your morning.
Nice segue there.
Yes. You know, Fuel Up has been really, since I've been trying it, has really helped me just jumpstart my mornings. And without it, there have been days where, well, you know how it can be sometimes, even for me. It's like your eyes start to get a little heavy and you start to get a little tired. But you drink Fuel Up and there, you're present. You're in it. You're in the moment. And of course, you know, offering 3 different flavors. I like having that orange flavor in the morning. Oh, Fuel Up. Oh, hold on. Here I go. Oh, yeah. That's the kick in the pants you need in the morning. Fuel Up for life.
Yeah, I'll be ordering it to help with I'm ordering it this Friday for my first first shipment of it anyway, for to help me because I'm only allowed so much caffeine. I'm only allowed like 16 ounces worth of caffeinated beverages, and that's what I'm going to use is that.
That's good.
And I'll use that'll be like my morning ritual drink. Because
you know what? For just doing that, they ought to just send you a T-shirt.
I'd be happy if they just send me a bag of fuel up, but
for life. And you know what? They have it up there. Morning coffee with Keith. Fuel up.
Yep.
For life. So you go ahead. You go straight to fuel up. And
free shipping, and I think you get a shaker cup.
Yep, I got mine. I love that cup, baby. Oh yeah, it's good. Oh wow. Hey, but wait a minute. Let's see. Penny says, "Too bad I'm allergic to the main." Oh,
that sucks.
You know what? You know what? I'm just gonna have to drink even more for you now, Penny. I'm gonna fuel up.
Just
for
don't
life.
drink the whole.
For Penny. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess they've got their proprietary ingredient with bioaloe.
Yeah.
Has a lot of different properties in it, but I mean it's a hydration. It's not just a morning drink. All their products are hydration. They help with making sure you get the
necessary ingredients and vitamins and nutrients that your body needs to help you continue to grow. Even at my age, but I feel good because I'm fueling up for life. So remember, as you are sitting down to relax and begin your day by listening to us, you can also fuel up for life. Get yours today. Tell them Keith sent you.
By using the morning coffee with Keith link that's in the chat.
There you go. Oh, wow. Let's see. And John says, I have a pic of me with Tweaky and Gray when I was when you were 7. Wow, look at you.
Cool.
I got a picture with Aaron Gray. I wasn't 7. I got my picture with Aaron Gray though.
I think I got my picture with Gil Gerard around here somewhere.
I must say I was really happy to get my picture with Aaron Gray.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, they're gonna have to find a way of removing that smile from my face.
Pretty much like my picture with Chase Masterson.
Chase Masterson. She's nice. She's a good person. She's good people.
Yeah.
She is. She really is.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, we digressed. Let me just go back and say this. For those of you who only know Buck Rogers from the 1979-1981 series, I will say this. You do get something out of going back and at least reading a lot of the comic strips or the books that have been written since then. And I will say that the comics, a lot of the comics that have been done in over the years are really good. Just really good stuff. I think it was a series of comics with the artwork of John Cassidy. Oh my goodness! Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
No, Gil was wearing a normal shirt. He wasn't showing off his hairy chest.
Oh, wow.
But he's not a short person. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he's not. He's definitely one of those guys who healthy living in the state of Arkansas.
Yep. Or as I like to call it, Arkansas.
Wow.
Well, that's how it's spelled.
True. And you know what? There is the Armageddon 2419 AD book. That was the one I read. That really got me into Buck Rogers. There's a lot of stuff out there. A lot of really cool books, a lot of really great comic books. But for my money, the Dynamite Entertainment books are the ones to look for.
TSR did a series of novels based on their version of Buck Rogers in the 25th century from their RPG. I think they did six or seven, if I remember right. Oh no, it's been so long. I had them at one point, but I don't think they're in my collection anymore.
Well, I keep hearing off and on about various plans to make another Buck Rogers movie. But the most recent piece of information I heard about it was still almost 10 years ago. So obviously they're not doing that one. I hope somebody takes it up.
Yeah.
It would be great. Well, you know, if I were to really think about it, if I were to really concentrate and think about it, I would say Matthew Vaughn would be a good director for a Buck Rogers movie.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Right? Right? The guy behind Kingsman? Come on.
Yeah. Now who would play Buck?
Okay. I'd almost want an unknown.
Yeah.
I would really almost want an unknown rather than a name. Because
well, you want somebody who you could get in contract for several movies.
Yes.
Without breaking the bank.
Without breaking the bank initially. I mean, you're going to have to renegotiate, as everything gets. I mean, if you're successful, you're going to have to eventually renegotiate. But I mean, I think if you do it right, you can come up with something that a lot of people would truly enjoy and have a lot of fun with. But it's really going to depend on how you balance everything out. Remember, it isn't. It really is a war story. I shouldn't just say that it's just that. It's
no, it's got different elements. It's got romance. It's got a little bit of everything in it. But it's
hard
set in the backdrop of a war.
Yeah, it's hard science fiction, and I think if I remember correctly, the story takes place in a version of America that has now almost been reclaimed by the Force. So it's kind of got a Robin Hood aspect to it because the remaining group of Americans that are trying to defend the country they're using the forest as a way to hide.
Yeah.
And the technology that they use to be able to leap over things becomes an impediment to the invading force. So it's Red Dawn meets it's Red Dawn meets Flash Gordon meets a tiny bit of Jason Bourne, and Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, I know there are some people out there that would say, well, why don't you just go get J.J. Abrams after what he did with Star Trek? I'm thinking, well, that's the reason why I didn't say that. Although,
no.
Thinking about it, though. Huh.
Could you really trust J.J. Abrams? Besides that, does Buck Rogers need that many lens flares?
Lens flare blast. Okay.
And who are we going to put in the mystery box?
Wow. That's good. You know what? If the script were really good and you could keep him okay, no, can't be done.
No, I like that. I like your idea of Matthew Vaughn.
I would have Matthew Vaughn with Chris Pine in the lead.
Chris Pine would make a good Buck.
Yeah. He's already played Captain Kirk. You might as well have him play the original adventuring space hero.
Yeah. That's really a good choice, although he's getting a little long in the tooth.
True.
Because you remember Buck Rogers was a young man. He wasn't, he was in his 20s.
Okay. I tried.
Yeah, I know. It's a good idea.
I tried, Chris. I tried to help you out, Mick.
I mean, if you made it right now, you could probably get away with it, but yeah, it's in the length of time it takes to produce a movie. You need to find somebody a lot younger.
Well, let me ask the chat. We don't have very much time, but quickly, who would you cast? Chat, who would you cast? Because, Timothy Chalamet, he can't do everything.
And I don't think he's right for Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers has to have that all-American,
No, he's not right. He will never be right for that.
He's got to be
you made me return from
strapping. Yeah. Big strapping, strong jaw. That look. I know, and that's problematic today, but
I had to say it, and I knew it was going to get a reaction.
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt would be good, but I also find myself thinking, once you go down that road with Chris Pratt, you start picking him for everything,
Well, you could. That's the thing, is you could probably get away with having him play everything.
True. But he isn't Chris Pratt like towards the end of his 30s? Isn't he almost 40 now?
Yeah, he's getting up there.
Again, I'm not trying to. Oh, go ahead.
It's going to be Booster Gold.
Besides, that's right. Scott Eastwood.
Oh, no way!
Scott Eastwood, yeah. Although he's up there too. Isn't Scott Eastwood in his 40s?
No, he's still in his 30s. That means they have to hurry up and start now. Scott Eastwood is capital thinking. Gold star from Martin today.
He's 36.
I could really you know what, Martin? You called that one.
Yep. Good job, Martin.
Thank you very much.
Scott Eastwood should be Buck Rogers. Oh my goodness, because women like this guy, and men want to.
He needs more roles. He needs a breakout role.
He does need a break. This would be it. And if you have Matthew Vaughn directing,
Scott Eastwood. All right, who do we need to call? Let's get this thing written. Let me call Script Doctor.
Script Doctor, yes, Script. Ooh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Put together a treatment with Script Doctor and see what happens.
So, my only thing is, who would you cast as Killer Kane, and who would you cast as Wilma?
Oh, see, that would be. That'd be a little more difficult. We've only got 2 minutes, though. We don't think we have time to go down this road.
Yeah. So I should have started with that earlier, but
yeah.
Oh man.
Well, we didn't come up with it till right here at the end. Sadly.
Still, a big applause to Martine for coming up with it. Austin Theory, Christopher. Okay, I'll check him out.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeebus.
Monkey Jeebus doesn't like Austin Theory.
Oh yeah,
apparently.
he does not like him at all.
So,
wow,
well, I guess it's time to say bye to everybody.
Okay, so let's just say goodbye. D-Bud Martin, Penny, Anima Confusa, Dragon Roost, Sean Estep, Zacharet 315, Bo Tall, Loki's, Morning of Bishop, Stone Pie Media, John Estones, Joe Atmosphere, Slasher Fred, Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips, War Monkey, Davinia Duckworth, Christopher Moonlight.
And ignore I put John Ostains there again because I missed.
Oh, okay.
Up there. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all good. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, especially as they're listening to both John and myself flounder there as Martin saves. Well, actually, I was floundering. John was just doing what he normally does, which is like really cool stuff. And of course, Martin saving my bacon there. He definitely won the gold star today because yes, Scotty's
thank all the listeners on KGRA and those
yes.
watching on Rumble.
Yes, KGRA and of course Bill, our buddy Bill,
running the show. Speaking of which, Bill, I think it's time to take us away.
Yep.